So tell people a little bit about you.
Okay. Where to start? So I am a bit of a serial entrepreneur. So I'm in the process of actually selling my marketing agency at the moment, and I am
Congrats.
thank you, and I am starting a new homeware marketplace, which is quite cool.
Okay.
But previous to that, I worked in venture capital and wound up through sort of working for the fund that invested in them. I was Vestiaire Collective's first head of marketing.
Oh, wow. That's
Um,
fascinating.
so I joined them just after their first real round of investment, and my job was to and my boss's job was to globalize it. So make London the HQ rather than Paris. And that's kind of where all the pre-loved secondhand love started to kind of come into my life. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So it wasn't something you had been doing as a child necessarily.
Um, yes, in the sense that my mum and my grandmothers always had really lovely clothes and I really liked it. And, the fit was always really great. And I had a huge amount of respect for that kind of era of clothing. But I think it was really when I was at Vestiaire, it was such a small organization then that everybody did authentication training and luxury
Oh,
training and
wow.
stuff. And it was kind of when I was and they would get sort of the greats, if you like, from your Celine's, your Chanel's, your Christian Dior's, all of that, and they would come and train you on how their stuff was made, how to look at counterfeits and authentication processes and stuff. And once you've seen that, you can't like unsee it. And that was at a point where I was sort of in my mid late 20s, and I, to be honest, loved luxury fashion but couldn't afford it, and secondhand was attainable for me. So that's kind of why I started to get into it, and I kind of learnt the quality was largely better.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah, I was
yeah,
going to ask if has that changed your perception on like when you go shopping now and you go to a high street
yeah,
store?
hugely. Like, I mean, on a more, yes, on a high street like level, but also on a luxury level. Like, I will not buy a Louis Vuitton bag if it's newer than 2010, because I know the factory's changed and they moved from canvas, from leather. So like my Neverfull, like I actually have it here, like is falling apart, but I won't buy a new one because I know, number one, they're triple the price, but they're also made out of fabric now and aren't leather. So
Right.
yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And then when you go vintage shopping, you know exactly how to check whether something's very high quality.
Yeah, I guess so. And I'm sure it's stuff that you kind of know, but sort of the quality of the stitching, the quality, like the handmade rather than computer made, and all of that kind of stuff. And also it's made me sort of staunchly anti-counterfeit, and so I'm a bit of a hawk when it comes to looking at things like if I'm in a flea market or a thrift store or whatever, like I'll be able, most 9 times out of 10 I'll be able to confidently say whether or not it's real, which is quite cool. It's quite a good skill.
Yeah, that's amazing. I notice just from shopping vintage, casually, whenever I'm looking to buy something new that I already have a vintage version of, it's hard for me
Yeah.
to commit to it because like there are so many brands like oversized blazers, for instance, have been pretty big for the past couple of years. And there are a lot of labels that are popular that are more contemporary, I guess, like $400, and it's a poly blend. And I
Yeah.
can find a 100% wool for $5 at Goodwill.
I mean, exactly. Like, and especially now, because in the UK we have Vinted, which I don't think you guys can use. I think you can shop it, but I don't think you can upload. It's basically like a Poshmark.
Right.
Um, and now, especially, like, I'll even get the same thing. Like, I went to Arquette really recently, tried on a grey sweater, really liked it. It was £60. Literally was in the store, found one, same thing. It was £3. I'm like, I'm going to buy that. Like, obviously. But I also think for the first time, you're starting to see that the love of pre-loved is really challenging our high street in the UK, because people know that people know that they or brands know that if it's not, that people trust that secondhand quality now. Like, something isn't seen as old, it's pre-loved. Like, it's very different. I think that distinction is really, really important.
Yeah, I've seen it change a lot just from I've been doing this since I was really young, and now, I used to go to the estate sales and I was the youngest person there. And now it's like a lot of Gen Z, a
Yeah.
lot of guys,
Yeah.
young men, looking for those sort of boaty type, like
Yeah.
old jackets with the patches all over them. So it's cool. I mean, it's amazing
It's
because
really cool. It's also really annoying.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like, hello, I was here first.
No, we have that. We don't really do estate sales in the UK, and it's really annoying. Like, I wish we did. Because you but we do have we have a really good antiques market which happens twice a month just outside of London, and you literally get there at 5 a.m. or you miss all the good stuff. And I've been going for a really long time, and it used to be sort of me and vintage store owners, like that was kind of it. And I used to go, and I got to know it because Vestiaire was so small in the UK. We used to go there to shop and to get inventory, like,
Oh,
for the website.
wow.
So and but now I go and I'm queuing to get in, and everyone knows about it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. But it's in the same vein, it's also good because it means it's challenging brands who are making new stuff. So it's, rough with the smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask you about some of your favorite pieces in your own closet that are vintage or secondhand, and um, where you got them and how you use them, how you work them into your wardrobe.
Sure. I've got a few bits. I've got a few bits.
Let's do them.
The first is my sort of aforementioned falling apart never fall. It is so falling apart. Like, I've even had to cut these off because I got them stuck in a tube barrier when
Oh
I'm
my
wearing it.
gosh.
But I absolutely love her. She's amazing. Her name is Phyllis. I
Okay.
name my bags. So, which tells you I really don't have that many because I don't have a good memory. But I'm very particular. It's the large size Louis Vuitton, and she's leather. So I would never buy a new one. And I'm actually trying to find a restoration place to sort the straps out for me at the moment, because the really, really good one unfortunately shut down during COVID. So I'm trying to find one of those. But I love her, and I bought her on Vestiaire Collective, and I looked like a mad city but woman in the countryside because I was staying in the country for the weekend and my signal was bad, and I was like frantically walking around the garden of my friend's parents' house with signal going in and out, trying to bid and like to buy this bag at sort of 8 in the morning. So I looked ridiculous, but I don't care. She's worth it. So
So for people who don't know, you said 2010 is the year, I guess, that they switched over from using leather to using canvas.
yeah, so all Louis Vuitton bags now, unless it's like a big collaboration, are made from canvas. Even the ones that are made to have like a leather effect or a leather grain, they are actually canvas. And that changed. It was 2009, 2010. So if you are ever shopping, particularly online, then always ask that question, because in my mind, leather because leather will justify a higher price, but it will last you a lot longer. And yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah,
So it's good. It's important, I think.
absolutely.
But then, actually, to be clear, like, on the edging here has always been canvas, and you actually don't want it to be anything else because it means it can move with you more. So it's actually like that. That's fine. So if you're looking at a bag and go at the edge and go, oh, that doesn't look like it's leather, maybe it's not real. It is real. It's just they've always done their edgings in canvas.
I see. Okay, cool.
What else have I got? Oh, I brought quite a lot of bags.
Oh, good. I love a bag.
So, my Celine trio.
Oh, great. I
I
can't.
really hope this is one of the bags that comes back. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely seeing some real sort of the Parenza Schuler and the Mulberries, like the Chloe bags are definitely kind of making a resurgence as the kind of boho trend comes back again.
Yeah, even the Balenciaga, the city bag,
Exactly.
back. Yeah.
They're all coming back. And I do think, from an investment standpoint, anyone who bought one of those during the low period could do really well for themselves.
Sure.
I sadly was not one of those people. Um, but I do think the sort of the original Celine bags, this one, the City bag, all of those things, I wouldn't be surprised if they come back too. I love this bag. It's so useful. I wear it to death. And I really, really look after it, and I love it.
And it's a great color.
It's a good color because it's not, it's a color, but it's not too bold, so it
Yeah.
kind of goes with everything. This is the larger size. I have a green one in the small as well, which I actually bought in like an outlet, which is mad because I don't really know why it was there, but I wasn't going
So
to complain.
years ago, there was a Saks Fifth Avenue outlet about 45 minutes from where I live, which was in St. Augustine, which is a kind of a tourist city. It's like the
Yeah.
nation's oldest city. But it's definitely not a city where people go to shop for designer stuff. So it was weird that they had this outlet at all, and it didn't do well. In fact, it closed during COVID. But I had a friend and I went in there one day and they had like 10 Celine bags and we each got like 4. I mean, which is so sounds disgusting, but they were like really, and this was like maybe, I mean, it was either right before or right as Celine was becoming like the thing.
Mm.
And it was so weird. I mean, it was like I got sunglasses, it was just, it was one of those weird things. Like they made a mistake and they wound up at our little outlet. But, when you see something,
I honestly, that would be my biggest tip is like go to the non-obvious places and go in. For us, it's TK Maxx. For you, it's TJ Maxx.
yeah,
Like, and I always go to like when I go to the States, like I'm coming over in a few weeks, I always go to like really obscure like Nordstrom racks
yeah,
and stuff because things just get overlooked because the majority of their customer base don't know what it is. And I live just outside London, but a lot of my family are in West Wales, and they have a TK Maxx there. And the number of times I've been there and been like, "Oh my gosh, like how do you have like how can you overlook this?" Because in those places, more sort of big bold logos and things are in trend, where it's so they don't stand out on the shelf. Um, I've had some wins like there
yeah,
for sure.
same. So many years ago, probably a decade, I was the first Maxxinista for TJ Maxx, which just meant basically it was on Facebook. This is how long ago it was.
Amazing.
They had like it was like, share a picture of your find, like in a comment, and we might give you a $100 gift card or something.
Gold,
I
absolute gold.
And I always found incredible stuff at TJ Maxx near Jacksonville because people certainly at the time didn't know what anything was. And I shared, it was like an equipment. You remember equipment, the silk button down. I had found a dress of theirs and I just took a picture and shared it. And then I got a phone call from their agency and they were like, "We want to make you the TJ Maxxinista." And they flew me to New York. It was like the coolest thing of my life. I brought my grandmother with me. I was there for like 3 nights. I stayed at the Tribeca Grand. They gave me $2,000 to shop at TJ Maxx, like with a camera crew. We shot on the streets. Katie Holmes jogged by. It was like, it was so weird.
It's
And this
like
was
just write your dream New York experience. Like, yeah.
exactly. And this was so long ago that like, it's not like it was even helpful for me. I think I was like on their Tumblr. Like it wasn't even like I was on their Instagram or something. But
You know
so I
what?
have a
Those were
very
the
soft
glory
spot.
days, though. Those were the
Yes.
glory days. Like
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't,
100%.
nobody was doing it for clicks or like, it wasn't making me famous. Certainly, it was just like, it's so cool. But I have found the exact same thing, even at Home Goods, which I don't know if you all have Home Goods or Home
No,
Sense.
I know what it is, but yeah. Oh no, we do have home sense, and it's becoming more of a thing. But we don't really get. Actually, no, I bought some Ralph Lauren lamps there Like, but we don't get branded stuff that much.
It can be very hit or miss, and I feel like
Mm.
it used to be so much better back in the day. I think now they buy a lot of stuff for the stores, but I've found that if you go to a Home Goods in a random city and always check the clearance aisle, that's where I always find like Missoni towels, and
Yeah.
because people in, some random town in Tennessee, they're not looking like, and it'll go on clearance because they might still be more high price. So they're like, why is this towel $50? I mean, they don't care that it is really 500. So yeah, I think looking at the clearance is also really good.
When you were talking about equipment blouses, I still have searches out for those because they are the best.
They
Like,
were so good.
so good, and they don't. And we actually used to get a huge problem with people making counterfeit ones for at Vestia, because I think, yes, of course, like the big kind of the big brands or the big C brands, so like your Celine, Chanel, Christian Dior, Christian Louboutin used to get a huge amount of counterfeiting. But actually, the bigger problem with things like equipment blouses, this was the era of like the Isabel Marant Bobby boot and stuff,
Oh
which is
yeah,
coming back. I nearly died. I was in Selfridges last week and they're selling the Bobby trainers again. And I was like, oh my God, that was an era.
I had them.
Yeah, I had them. I had them. But they're in Selfridges new. I was like, wow, okay. Like that's a minute. But yeah, we used to get huge like equipment blouses were faked all the time because they were just so easy to shift. And also, actually, the other good silk blouses are the really old Celine ones. Like, they're really good, really, really good. Actually, it's quite cool. We did a shoot with Anita Pallenberg, who was like, did a shoot in her house, and it was her who was like, I only buy them, and I was like, if Anita buys them,
Yeah, sold.
I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah,
So, yeah. What was it? What were we? Oh, back. So I've got one other bag to show you.
yeah. Let's see it.
I bought this one for myself. It's a
Oh,
Fendi de jour, as in toujours. I love her.
she's beautiful.
Um, Her name is Karen.
Karen. Oh, okay.
But
She wants to talk to the manager.
she does want to talk to the manager.
I mean, she does mean business. She's so structured.
She's super structured. I actually was looking for a slightly different Fendi style, and landed on this. And this I actually did again get from Vestiaire. It came from Hong Kong, and I love her.
She's
Like,
just beautiful. I mean, you could wear her with sweats and you're like ladylike and put
I
together.
know, which is kind of. I mean, especially being English and working for Parisians, you just constantly feel scruffy. Like, you
Yeah.
just. I mean, they used to kind of. I know the Parisian girls. I mean, Emily in Paris is a reality. Put it that way. It really, really is like that. Like, when Vestiaire sponsored Emily in Paris, like, all of the girls on the founding team of Vestiaire were like, "Oh my God, the irony!" Like,
Yeah.
it really. We had similar experiences,
That's
and yeah, we're like, you really do see polish on another level, and like effortless
yeah.
and it is so annoying.
Yeah.
But they did also kind of teach me the boundaries, because I was like a more is more person. So I'd be like, oh my God, I love this. I need it in 10 colors. Whereas the Parisians would be like, no, I love this. I want it in one color and I'm going to look after it.
Yeah.
And that definitely was helpful.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a American mentality as well. Like, I want, it's all about the haul, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's my Amazon haul, and it's like 100 things. And for that same price, you could have just bought one really great piece.
Yeah, I think so. And I sell a lot of stuff. And I'm so conscious of having less. And I'd love to say that that comes from like a wonderful, sustainable place. It doesn't really, if I'm honest. It's more just that if I have less to choose from, it's easier to get dressed in the morning. Like, yes, of course, like, secondary to that, there's the sustainable idea, like, element and idea of footprints and that kind of thing. But the main thing is that I am a magpie, and if there's less things for me to look at when I open my wardrobe, I'll just be quicker. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the challenge with secondhand and thrift shopping is that you find these incredible things and they're often very affordable, and so you
Yeah,
have to get them because you know you'll never see them again.
I know. I do find my downfall is definitely sort of in-person thrift shopping, like
Yeah.
for sure. Um, but yeah. What else have I got? Oh, a I have a jacket that I got in a thrift sale. It's old Suzanne.
Oh
So
wow.
so when Suzanne was first launched, in my opinion, the quality was a lot better.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
quality knows. I think their knits can be really great.
yeah, yeah.
Some of
I
their
think, and
printed stuff, it's like, yeah,
no, I don't love it as much. Like I think their footwear is quite good, but then they all their footwear is made in a factory that like all the master brands make them, so you can trust their footwear. I think they're worth the RRP, like I think they're really good, but when it comes to other bits, I think I'm a bit like, how do we justify this?
right.
um but this jacket, I missed out on it first time around and I was gutted. It is quite oversized, it's just like a navy one, and so when I saw it in a shop in Notting Hill, I was like, I'm having it straight away. It's like a sort of a cotton silk blend. It hangs so well. Um, I love her.
Yeah,
It
she's
goes with
great.
everything. I wear her with jeans. I wear her casually, formally, like the works. No, she's a goodie. She's a goodie. And then the only other thing I've got, actually, I have two things to show you, is this Jonathan Saunders dress.
Oh wow.
So I love this brand. It is no more now.
I know. I was just about to say, what happened to Jonathan Saunders?
No, I don't think. I think it went like pre-pandemic. It was very much of the era. It thrived around the time as the same time as like the Mary Katrantzus and stuff like that, and when we really did have that huge surge of like British designers coming through. And I
Yeah.
think, unfortunately, luxury took a real hit, and it was one of the brands that just kind of fell through the net. But this dress I loved first time round. Um, and so when I found it in a really obscure charity shop in like the countryside. And it was £25.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like,
Amazing.
you can't say no. And I have worn this to pretty much every event, wedding, christening, bar mitzvah since.
That's
So
amazing.
so yeah, I've got that. And oh, the only other thing I have are my Chanel espadrilles,
Oh wow.
that I really love, but I wasn't prepared to pay full price for because Chanel themselves say that they're their most returned item,
Oh,
quality wise. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy them secondhand, and I have actually had to take them to be resold like twice,
okay.
but I don't mind because I didn't pay the big number for them. So,
Right.
and I love them. So yeah,
They're amazing. Secondhand shoes are one thing that I just haven't gotten into. They're really difficult because you never know the sizing, unless it's a
yeah,
brand that you have a lot of
yeah,
pieces by.
yeah.
And it's difficult to assess the quality or the comfortability. Sometimes you can't return the stuff. So,
I find that if it is a size and shape that I've got before, it's perfect because I
yeah.
think they've almost been broken in for you, like
Yeah.
in a way. So I really like it, but I don't have actually out of every area of my wardrobe, footwear is probably the area I'd thrift the least.
Yeah.
I really want to do more thrifting in jewelry. Really, really, really want to because I um have sort of like a lemonade budget wanting a champagne lifestyle with my jewelry.
Mhm.
And I like big, bold, and gold. And I don't have the budget for new in that category at all. And yeah, I want to get better at that. So I'm starting to do some research. Like London is so good for that stuff. Like we have Hatton Garden, and we have a couple of like specialist jewelry thrift places and things. There's a place in Fulham in West London where you literally pay by the weight, and
Oh,
you just
wow.
Like you walk in, they give you a bag, and then you just weigh it on your way out, and you pay for whatever's in the bag.
Yeah, that's kind of like the bins. Have you heard of the bins?
No.
There are some Goodwill stores in the US and they're just bins. And it's a very scary experience because it is super competitive and some of the stuff is in really bad shape, like
Yeah.
soil. But it's not even like a store. It's like you walk in and it's just bins and you can just fill up a bag. But depending on where you are, I mean it's very overwhelming. Like you have to it's almost like dumpster diving.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so you never know what you're gonna find. It's not like just jewelry. It's
Yeah.
everything.
No, that actually reminds me of a completely other end of the sort of spectrum experiences. I used to go to the Net-a-Porter sample sales, like back in the day.
Gosh, I bet women were just like,
You have never seen, so it was honest, the whole thing was like a first world problem.
yeah, sure.
Like, it was, I mean, I got some amazing things. Like I got a really good Acne leather jacket. I got some Louboutins for like £10. It was crazy when I actually look back at it. And these were like the good old days when like Natalie still worked there, and it was all very small. And they don't happen they don't happen in the same way anymore. Like Burberry used to do one as well, and it would be like £15 a scarf. But I feel like sample sales have almost got cool in themselves, so
Yeah.
you don't see the reductions in the same way. I'm always really surprised with New York sample sales. I'm like, this isn't a sample sale. This is just old stock sold at RRP.
Yeah. Like there was a lot of stuff on social media about the Row sample sale that happened
Mm.
recently. And people were, I don't know, New York Times or someone took video of people leaving the sale and showing what they got and what they spent. And like, they're not getting anything for $10.
No, no, you're not.
It's
But then
like a
I think that's across
$10,000
the
coat
board.
for $8,000.
I mean, like that's just 20% off. But I
Right.
do. But in the way that I kind of saw with like Burberry's a really good example. Like it went too mass, and too many people got a hold of it, and it became sort of the opposite of what it was trying to be, and it pulled itself back, sort of completely rebranded, and sort of became very hard to get hold of, and then it's become a luxury brand again and is now thriving in the same way. And it's yeah it I think when it's a fine line when you need to make things accessible for them to be there, to be enough of it to have sort of a customer footprint. And I kind of think that sample sales have become a strategy in that sense of let's help the customers who aspire to have a piece of us so they want more. And I don't know, that's just my marketing experience talking, but I yeah, sample sales aren't bargains anymore.
One question I wanted to ask you, since we spoke about outlets earlier, or Nordstrom Rack, I find that there's a really big difference between a department store outlet like a Nordstrom Rack
Mhm.
or a Saks Off Fit or a TJ Maxx, which is TK
Yeah,
Maxx, which is also kind of like a department store outlet, and an outlet by the brand themselves. So
totally.
like if you go to a Burberry outlet, Orlando, Florida has a ton. They have Prada, Burberry. A lot of the stuff appears to have been made for the outlet.
Yes, you get that, and it's the same. It's the same here. We don't really have the department store outlets in the way that you guys do. Like the big department stores don't do it so much, but we do have like the absolute must visit one, like outlet center in the UK, is Bicester Village, which is kind of in the Cotswolds. It's like an hour out. They've got some crazy high speed train now, which I think will get you there in half an hour. And it's changed. Well, there are some stores that are really good, but there's others like your kind of Ralph Lauren's and stuff like that, where you're like, that was made for this. Like it's not. It's but then it but there's a place for it. But say like when Kate Spade came to the UK, the first store it opened was a Bicester store. So it opened an outlet first to
Right.
kind and then kind of spread out. And yeah, there is a bit of that. But that said, like sometimes you will go to Gucci and there will be something couture there. Like,
Right.
and it is, but you do need to know what you're you need to know what you're doing. Or if you're going from the perspective of value, you do need to kind of know what you're doing.
And I think also if there's a bunch of something, like if there's a whole size run or, you know, 20 of the same bag versus one dress,
Yeah.
that's a good indicator. I mean, that's similar at like a TK Maxx. They have some of that like it's like Karl Lagerfeld, which is not the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
It's not the
yeah.
same. And I try to explain that to people. There's also there's this Valentino that they sell at Nordstrom Rack.
Oh,
And
it's red Valentino.
it's like, no. It's a different guy.
Oh,
It's like Mario Valentino. Like
I
it is
love it.
not Valentino, but they put it behind the case and it's clearly made not very well. I mean, and it's a totally different brand, but they say Valentino and even like Nordstrom Rack, I mean, they're making it appear and it makes me feel bad because I'll see these women shopping in there and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look, there's a Valentino bag."
Yeah.
And I want to be like, "Don't, that is not Valentino." Like, and certainly by all means if you want to buy it, buy it. But it feels like false advertising, which it kind of is.
And it kind of like, and I'm also like, I do think that kind of band of price point, I take, I think it, because I've kind of come from the standpoint of, you know, seeing a Hermes bag, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think you can ever really fully understand the price point of like a Hermes now.
Right.
But like 10 years ago, when it was not, it was still incredibly expensive, but it wasn't like 30,000 for a bag. um I understood it, because I was like, there are 50 little old ladies who sit there and each have a very dedicated job and they do everything by hand, and like, you know, and I kind of get it, which is why I find it really sad when you get that kind of like Tory Burch, Kate Spade band of brands
Yeah.
who kind of claim to be in that space. I mean, I'm not saying like a Hermes, but certainly like a designer space. I'm like, no, that's just, it's actually kind of taking the mick out of the consumer a little bit, because it's like, I feel like the word designer spans so far.
Yeah.
And for me, it comes down to quality and craftsmanship to a degree. And it's just way too easy to stick designer on something as a word.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Okay, well, before we go, do you want to see a couple things that I
Yes,
have?
of course I do. That's why I'm
Mine are
here.
really weird. Mine are not like yours. I just have two bags and this belt, which I just got at a thrift store in Salt Lake City, and I just thought it was so
Ooh. Oh, I
fascinating.
like that.
It was on top of the rack at a thrift store, and it's signed inside, and it's vintage, and the brand is Renoir, and they were
Uh-huh.
really known for copper and metal jewelry. And so this is like a fully copper belt. It actually fits me. I have no idea how I'm going to wear it. Like, I don't
I'm
know.
thinking
I'd wear a
like a kind
shirt
of,
dress or something.
yeah. You
It was
also
so
need,
hard to pack
yeah.
because I had to like stuff it in between everything.
You
Um,
now need to do a toga party.
Perfect. This is why I got
You
it.
need a toga party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this was one of my favorites. And I love, I guess one of my tips for shopping is like I think people forget about belts. And I feel like belts are kind of having a moment and have been like
Yeah.
Kate has some really incredible belts. They are wildly
Mm.
expensive. But
But
sometimes you can look up like vintage Brighton, which was kind of this like mall brand in the 90s. They actually have belts that look a lot like Kate. I
the
don't
other one, I totally agree. And I've got a couple of really good Gucci ones. And they're better made then as well. And I picked them up for like 40, £50.
Yeah.
And they, and also a lot of people don't know, because Gucci belts are amazing, but old Gucci was unbranded and didn't have the double G's and stuff on.
Right.
So they were probably sitting on somewhere like a Vestiaire ignored, because when the whole GG double G thing was a vibe, that wasn't what people were after. So you can put a low offer on it and you'll get it. And then you've got an Italian handmade belt.
Yeah, and
Um,
similarly at a thrift store, people, I mean, the volunteers working at a thrift store, some of them are trained to take out those higher price things. They're not looking at every belt, right?
No.
They're probably not looking at any of them. And especially if they're not branded with the double G's, they're just sitting there. I went, gosh, this was probably 15 years ago. My friend and I went to pick up something from the cobbler. Like, we had some shoes resold or something. And these guys, they're like, they fix leather. It's these two kind of rough around the edges men who do this. They had a box or like a little basket at the cash register full of wallets for $5 that they had fixed, and no one had come and picked them up, and they were all Gucci. And my friend who I was with just bought them all. They were men's wallets.
Wise woman.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's wild. I mean, it's wild, the stuff you can find. Okay, the other thing is these two bags, and this is a brand that is not made anymore. It's called Tukan, Tukahn. Might be Khan. It's always misspelled online. And so, yeah, it's TU-KHAN. They're made in Florence, and they say Florence on them.
Uh-huh.
They're like really well branded, and I think they're all different. And I discovered this brand because I was on Instagram, and one of the very, very high-end vintage dealers I follow was selling like a crazy one of their bags. And I was like, what is this brand? So I set up Google alerts for it. I found like one on Poshmark, one on eBay. I shared one on Instagram, and someone else immediately bought it. But they're like works of art, really, really well made. I don't know anything about this brand. The only other one I found is like in a museum, a handbag museum in Hong Kong or something.
So if it's called, so I can actually tell you something about it. Not that bad, but like, so if it says made in Florence, that actually is reflective of craftsmanship, because the Italians are really particular, and they will only, so there's a huge problem with it in Europe. So because a lot of things will say like made in London, made in the UK, or made in Paris. And the reality is it's all been made in like Turkey or the Far East, and then the final pieces are added. So like Mulberry, unfortunately, is a brand that does that. So they have that, they, you know, visually they have this amazing factory in the middle of the Cotswolds, and it's all beautiful, Somerset, and it's all beautiful. But the reality is most of their bags are made in Turkey, and then they put their metal work on in those in the factory.
Oh, interesting.
The Italians are really fussy, and they will not let that happen. In order for it to be, say, made in Florence, it means it is made in a accredited factory, and it is made end to end. So it does actually mean something. If it says like Florence, Milan, Pisa, it instantly means it's really well made.
Oh, that's great. Well, it has all these wonderful details. I mean, it has little feet, it pops open like that. But they're all, everything this brand has made, they're so rare and you can't find them. But when you do, they're sometimes misspelled.
Was it expensive?
This one I paid $30 for on eBay, and this one was $88 on eBay. No, that one was Poshmark.
I love that one.
Isn't this amazing? And look at the little feet, and it opens on either side. Yeah, this is why I love vintage shopping too, because you uncover these brands that were lost to time, and like, I don't know, something about this feels very current to me. I mean, I can see the shape is so wild and interesting. I can definitely see like a Kate or the Row doing maybe not with all this crazy metal work, but the only problem with this one is it's really hard to store because it doesn't collapse. So you have to sort of set it on a shelf or something. But yeah, those are the things I wanted to show you.
You're very good at this. Very good at this.
So are you. I mean, you know everything to look for, which is so helpful.
Like, I mean, I'm kind of a little bit out of the loop of like with the kind of newer brand stuff, but it is, I feel like the baseline training I'm super grateful for. Like, I really love it. But yeah, I'm going to California at the end of the month, and we're going into the desert, and I cannot not go to the flea markets around there, but more for interiors actually. I love all of that kind of stuff. But my husband is always despairs because I'm always asking to bring some glass thing home, and it's but
And
I can't.
he has to carry it on his lap on the plane.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Well, I hope you'll like do a recap on your Substack and share everything
I
that you
think I
got.
will. I think I will actually. Like I did one last year and did really well. So I think I'll do it. But I don't know about you. Find that I'm still figuring Substack out. Like
Oh, me too. I think
post that.
Substack is still figuring Substack out.
Yeah, totally. Like I don't even like posts that I write in 2 seconds do really well, and posts that I put a huge amount of thought to will just sort of simmer. And
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
And sometimes those city guides, like, because I'll do those and share everywhere I went thrifting, everything I saw, and it takes a long time.
so
And then
long.
it's like, I don't know that anybody really cared in the end.
No, I'm exactly the same. Like, I cannot, like, to this day, the posts that have done really well, I cannot explain.
Yeah,
Not a
it,
clue. But
it's
yeah, but
really
I will do my California thrifting for you.
good.
Oh yeah.
Just for me, an audience of one. I
I'll
will
have
click it.
one view. I don't care. I wonder if I can actually just send it to you. Like, I'll do that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was fun.
Thank
We
you
should
for
do it
having me.
again if you find some amazing stuff in Palm Springs or wherever it is that you're going.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
please, we can revisit.
No, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
Great. Amazing. Well, if you don't already, you should follow and subscribe
And
because
vice versa to my followers. Very much recommend. So yeah.
amazing. Well, thanks. I hope that you have a good evening.
And you. All right. Well, you can have a good lunchtime now. But
Yes.
like for me, it's evening. So yeah. All right. Well, lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.